This is probably my favourite programmable calculator. It's a Casio 502P and it works. There's stuff going on, you can program it, and I had one of these in the 80s, so I probably learnt to program on it more or less. It's quite a nice programming model. It's pretty simple. It doesn't have a lot of expandability. It's got a connector here which you can plug a printer or a cassette recorder interface into, and I know how to use it, so definitely like a comfortable pair of shoes. It's got a big brother. It's got the 602 and 601. So the 502 had a little brother with less memory steps, and it's the 501. And when they moved to the 502, which has got a dot matrix alphanumeric display, it's the same case, same form factor, and the 601, the little brother, less steps. There's a memory chip missing inside. 602's got that chip, and the 601, if I take it off, hasn't. So that's fine, but unfortunately I found these, the 602s and 601s, to be quite fragile. This one's got a intermittent problem with the memory. This one doesn't work at all. So looking at the PCBs, the 501, which is the little brother of this one, I've got a couple of those, and there's the 501, but you can see the display is not working very well at all. It's an old LCD, it started to bleed, so it does actually work, sort of. You can sort of see that the 0 has appeared there, but if you press the keys nothing happens, so it's basically broken. If you look inside the 502, you get a board like this, and it turns out that it's, if it goes that way, it's exactly the same form factor as the 601, 602, except the batteries have changed. The CR2032's down the bottom here, and LR44's at the top on the 502. So the case is slightly different, but the board is actually the same form factor because the 602 uses the same interface. So, I mean, because of this problem with the display, and also the fact that the 602 family is a bit more fragile, I mean, mechanically you can see the backs come unglued there, but there seem to be a lot of failed 601, 602s. That one doesn't work at all. This one's got an intermittent memory problem. Got a 501 with a duff display, but I think most of the 502s I've got actually do work. I thought it would be interesting to maybe have a go at doing a replacement PCB, and I thought about just doing another PCB, same form factor. You take everything off, put it on a new PCB, which has the advantage that, unfortunately, on the old PCBs, these clips here tend to crack the PCB. It means you'd end up with a PCB made out of modern materials that should be a little bit more robust. These are sort of quite flimsy. It's only a 1mm PCB, but even so it seems a bit flimsy, and they do crack. But then you've got the problem that the ICs are going as well, the displays are going, and what's even worse is on this family, the 602s, the LCD is attached not with zebra strips but with heat seal connections, which are terrible. Awful. So what I've decided to do is do a recreation of it, a bit like the CQ1 that I did, but do a PCB this form factor which can accept batteries in both positions, so you can use it in either case, hopefully, this is the plan, but with a modern processor, and probably a different interface here, because this connector is a bit of a pain. It's not a standard connector, and you can't interface anything other than the peripherals that were designed for it. And the cassette interface is nice, it works, but cassettes are a bit outdated now. And the printer has the problem that it's a spark erosion printer, and getting the paper is not easy. I even tried making some, but that didn't work too well. So I think what I'm going to do is put a different connector on there, which will have maybe USB. I may be able to fit a USB and a connector in the hole in the case here. There might be enough room for a USB connector and some wired connections. But the idea is probably to go for some GPIOs going out there, so you can drive it as I2C maybe. But you've also got these signals, so you can drive the original peripherals as well. Because it would be nice to use them occasionally. I mean, if you want to get a spark erosion printout and someday the paper actually becomes available again, or you want to use the cassette interface to read some tapes or something like that, I think that would be a better way of doing it. So what I'll probably do is, I mean, I've got at least one board where I've taken the chips off. So I've decapped one of those. I'll probably decap the other one and see what's in there, but an LCD controller is not going to be very interesting. We can take that connector off, and you could use that on another PCB that plugs into the new connector format and provides a breakout set of connections for I2C and the old peripherals. So this connector could go onto that other board that plugs in there. So you've got access to the old peripherals, and all the signals would be the same. It's pretty easy to emulate those signals, I think. So the idea is to take that PCB, put it inside existing cases, so the power switch and the keyboard would actually be from the original calculator. So it would look from the outside a bit like that. Batteries, I don't know. I think I'm tending at the moment towards, I mean, I hate batteries, they leak. You leave them in there and they leak. So I'm tending maybe towards the primary power being USB, so that you plug it into a USB something or other. I mean, everyone's got a phone or a laptop or a power brick that you can power it off. And it gets away from the problem of leaving batteries in there and it leaking. So I may not put battery connections on it, or then again I might, because it is nice having a portable device occasionally where you can pick it up and just do some stuff. But it'll definitely have a USB connection for, well, for programming at the very least. Display is a problem. I wanted to use Sharp Memory Display, which is a really nice LCD type display, but unfortunately none of the ones that you can buy will fit in the case. I've got the case here from the one that PCB came out of, and if you open it up, there's a bit of room here for the display. Now you can't fit any of the Sharp LCD displays in there. I was hoping to use the one that's used on the DM41X, but unfortunately that comes down into the keyboard area, and these clips that hold the PCB in, which I'm probably going to use, they just go straight through the display, so you simply can't fit it in there, and they don't do one that's the right size. Now I did find some OLED displays which turn out to be almost exactly the size of that recess, so hopefully we'll use those. Unfortunately that means the batteries won't last too long, because the power requirements for the OLED display is something around 10 to 20 milliamps. So with LR44 batteries or CR2032s, you'd only have 2 or 3 hours continuous use, something like that, and quite a lot of time in standby. So I mean, it's still sort of vaguely practical, but I think especially with the OLED display it's going to be much more likely that USB power will be the practical solution. So that's the plan. So the first step is to make up a breadboard sort of exploded version of the thing, a bit like the one I did for the CQ1, and also the one that I did for the 702P. So we'll have a 502 there with the keyboard. The display will be some external display. It won't be one of these character displays. It'll be I'm not sure what, something, when the OLED displays turn up, I'll put the proper OLED displays on there, but for now it's going to take a while for those to turn up. I'll probably fit some other display, just something that's got enough dots to do what I need. Stick a blue pill in there, or I might actually use the processor I'm intending to use on the circuit board rather than a blue pill, because I know I can prototype all the power circuitry and everything. So because I may run it off batteries, I might need some regulators and things to sort that out, and some transistors, a bit like I did on the CQ1 recreation, which can run off a single AA battery, but at the moment I tend to use that on USB, so I'm not sure batteries are really a good thing anymore. So if I don't do any sort of battery support, then just prototyping with a blue pill's fine, because it's USB power, it's got everything that's needed. So really the only thing that I need if I don't have battery power is keyboard, display and a processor and a few GPIO lines going out for the connector at the top. So it's pretty simple. It's a lot simpler than the CQ1. So I'm going to steal a few bits if I do the battery circuit from the CQ1 recreation. But that's the plan. So I'm going to make up probably using this keyboard. What I'll probably do is use the circuit board here that I've got, put that back in the case and run some wires out from the connections that go to the keyboard, which used to go to this processor, and then turn this effectively into just a keyboard and plug in whatever I need on the other end of those wires. So that's the plan. So let's see how it goes.